we have to wait another year for Season 3. I can't fathom that right now. I guess on to WandaVision, but man, I love this show. What is up, Star Wars fans? Welcome back to my channel. So we've covered individual episodes on this channel. Now we're going to talk about Season 2 as a whole. Today, I'm giving you guys my favorite moments, my favorite characters, and my favorite episodes. Time codes will be down below, but I want to talk about it. This is a spoiler-filled video, so we're going to get into all of the madness, and this is your play space, your discussion. Leave your comments down below, and if you like these Star Wars videos and you want to drop a thumbs up, let me know. I'd love to cover all of the other shows coming to Disney Plus in the future. But let's get into the best episodes from this season, and honestly, there are quite a few to choose from. If I had to give you guys my worst episode, and I'm not even going to say it was bad. I don't think it was bad. A lot of people didn't like Chapter 10, The Passenger, and this is the Ice Spiders episode. To me, it captured quite a few things that we love about a good horror movie, a good horror TV show. It almost felt like The Thing and Alien at times. But in terms of the grand scale story and how it ties in, I would say it is the weakest, and it's funny because that episode was actually directed by Peyton Reed, and when I saw he was directing the finale, I didn't get nervous because I like him as a filmmaker, but I was like, oh, okay, well, he did the weakest episode so far. Let's see what you got, Peyton. And sure enough. Sure enough. I'm also really surprised because I thought The Siege would be one of my favorite episodes, directed by Carl Weathers, and that was really one of the only ones where Carl Weathers played an integral role, and it ended up being one of my lesser favorites of the season because, again, there were so many plot points and story arcs this season, and a lot of them had to do with characters that we know from something like Rebels or the Clone Wars. We had Ahsoka, we had Bo-Katan, and Boba Fett, obviously, who played a pretty big role in the final few episodes. We had to kind of shift focus from the characters that we knew from Season 1, and I was okay with that. I was a little nervous at first, and obviously we got a little bit more Cara Dune than maybe anyone else from Season 1, but a nice return for someone like Bill Burr, a nice return for a few of the characters that we loved, and a lot of comedic relief characters making their return this season, but I'm absolutely okay with that. It feels like as epic and intense as some of these episodes were, the comedy aspects, while at the end of the day kind of forgotten, they added a bit of levity to those moments, so I really enjoyed those. But in terms of my favorite episodes, I thought Chapter 9, The Marshal, was a really good start to the season. Chapter 11, The Heiress, when we're reintroduced to Bo-Katan in live-action form and her two companions. It was a fun episode. Again, not my favorite episode just because the ones we're going to get into just outshine it, but really, going back to something like that, a nice establishment for a brand new yet the same character that we now know and love, and I'm so happy she's a part of this universe. Of course, Chapter 13, The Jedi, is personally one of my absolute favorites of both seasons of The Mandalorian. Ahsoka's live-action debut was one that I don't think fans will ever forget. It was absolutely phenomenal. And then you have the tragedy, and going into that episode, as soon as we see the tragedy, this is one of the episodes that I didn't review individually. I say, oh no, it's not going to be good. And it's made to be not only a Mandalorian episode, a showcase for what Boba Fett can do. Now, I have seen some complaints about, how it kind of felt like a fan film a little bit, and I understand we could have used a bit more development for Boba Fett, but honestly, that is the most development I've ever seen for Boba Fett, and as someone who hasn't always been in the camp of, Boba Fett is one of the most legendary, outstanding characters in Star Wars, I had just never seen it. We'd gotten a little bit of it in the EU and here and there, but in terms of what we saw in the movies, I hadn't seen it. Well, that episode, the tragedy, you saw it, but you also saw Baby Yoda, and I gotta quit saying that, Grogu, you saw Grogu get taken in that episode, and that is the tragedy, and man, you're heartbreaking along with Mando, along with those characters. It is a crazy thing to witness. And it's crazy to think about how much you love this character, your emotional attachment, not just Mando's. I thought that was awesome. Chapter 15, The Believer, was a bit of an off-kilter episode when you're comparing it to something like The Jedi or The Tragedy, and I would say 13, 14, and 16 are my three favorites of the season. Also, shout out to The Marshal because I thought Cobb Vanth was a great character, but You look at The Believer, and it's like, oh, well, it's just kind of, the story. They're kind of going in and infiltrating, but it does still stand out as one of the better episodes of the season because of Bill Burr's banter, because of the fact that you have Mando doing what it takes, even though it's not what he believes in, taking off his armor, the willingness to save Grogu. It's a very vital episode, so I hope it's not one that we overlook in the grand scheme of things when you talk about the tragedy and the Jedi with Ahsoka's debut. But then you have the rescue, and the rescue pretty much paid off on all of the expectations. I don't even want to say expectations, fantasies of fans getting to see the return of someone like a Luke Skywalker. And so those are my favorite episodes. Now let's get into the moments. And I've hit on a lot of them just talking about the episodes. But, oh my goodness, there are so many. Talked about Boba Fett's big battle debut. We saw that little tease at the beginning of, we're going to get Boba Fett. Let's see what he's going to do. And then there was a large break. It's like, well, he may not come play a big role. And then we get that. And not only that, but the tease, if you guys missed it, at the end of Chapter 16, we have a brand new Boba Fett show. And they're setting up as to what that's going to be. And I thought it was a beautiful reintroduction to that character, that battle when we're first introduced, and then, of course, helping out our heroes later on. Ahsoka's introduction, Ahsoka's battle, so many moments with Ahsoka that I will never forget. Again, establishing another spinoff. And you could look at it and say, well, all of these moments, they're just here for spinoffs. They're just here to expand the universe. But they were vital. They were so important to this season. And they played such a big role into where our character is going to end up in the next season. There were some really good parts in the Siege, the reintroduction to those characters that we love. Bo-Katan's passion for Moff Gideon retrieving the Darksaber, and of course, she's unable to do that, right? And she has to battle Mandalorian over that, who is now in the possession of the Darksaber. That's pretty cool. That's not even something I hit on in my previous episode video, but there are a lot of great paths in which we can follow in future seasons. I think the most vital moment, other than Skywalker, which we'll talk about more here in just a second, is when Grogu had to go with Luke and that face-to-face emotional, literally face-to-face, once again taking his mask off. You're really not abiding by your religion there, pal. No, it's okay. Listen, the ultimate father-son relationship, and you could see and you could feel how much he cared about Grogu in that moment. So out of all of the moments, Grogu being taken, all of the amazing battles, Luke freaking Skywalker, that may actually be my favorite. That face-to-face moment there at the end was just beautiful. And then, of course, the battle with Moff Gideon. Now, let's get into the individual characters. I did want a bit more from Moff Gideon this season. He's still a presence. He's still an awesome character when we get to see him, but we didn't get to see him all that much, and I was so afraid they were going to take him from us at the end of that episode. He puts the blaster up to his head, and thank goodness does not fire the blaster. Whew, all right, we still have him. He can still be a presence. Doesn't have the Darksaber any longer, but that's okay. I mentioned all of the great battles with Ahsoka, but really just translating, and I know it's a different act, and that's okay, right? Rosario Dawson, she had a lot of great shoes to fill with the character of Ahsoka, but I thought she did a great job. I really did. I thought she did a great job. She is now a standout for me in this Disney Plus universe, as is, like I said, Boba Fett. I was never huge on Boba Fett until now, and it's nice to see Tamora Morrison get another opportunity at playing, I believe, one of his best characters ever. I mentioned Timothy Dalton's character. I really enjoyed him in the first episode. Carl Weathers as Grief is really a highlight. I just all of these season 1 cameos, if you will, I just want more of, because they are such good characters, and there are so many that I could use amplified screen time for. We did get more, like I mentioned, though, with Gina Carano's Cara Dune, and I even feel like they're setting her up for another show at some point. So a lot happened this season. I didn't even mention Frog Lady and Frog Man reuniting at last. That's the love story I want to see, folks. What a beautiful and emotional moment that was. Bo-Katan and companions, that was spectacular. Oh yeah, we got Luke Skywalker in this season. Luke freaking Skywalker, man. And, I've already seen the comments, Austin, it doesn't matter if it didn't look perfect. I'm talking about the face and the recreation of that technology that they used for Leia. I'm still not all there on the way that it looked, but I love the fact that it is a tribute to Mark Hamill. They even gave him a credit, which was just beautiful. It is like that uncanny valley thing. You can tell that there's something off there, but again, we're utilizing technology for a character that I believe is so important. A lot of people mentioned Sebastian Stan. I honestly thought it was going to be him at a point, but I'll tell you what, if you just kind of freeze frame it, that's a young Luke Skywalker, and my goodness, we mentioned moments earlier, but I wanted to save it until the end. It's got to be the highlight of the season, right? It's got to be the highlight. Luke Skywalker coming in and just everything you've ever wanted to see him to do at the prime of his quote-unquote career as a Jedi, man. It was just so cool. I believe that rivals the Vader moment in Rogue One. That Vader moment was utterly spectacular, but man, Peyton Reed did a great job, and really all of the directors of this season. There wasn't really one episode, probably Peyton Reed's, that was my least favorite, but there wasn't really one episode that stood out as bad direction. Even Carl Weathers did a really good job. I didn't expect him to. I'd love to see some return from Season 1 eventually. Taika Waititi, of course, he is busy with his own Star Wars movie. But overall, man, The Mandalorian Season 2, great time, great characters, great moments, great episodes. Not everything was perfect. A few things did feel shoehorned at the end of the day, and like I mentioned, they do a lot of fan servicey things just for the sake of fan service. And that's going to bother a lot of people. And I completely understand if you want more development here or you need something else here. But this is one show, and I'll be honest with you guys, I don't tend to fanboy out about things, but it's one show that I think is just collectively uniting the majority, not everyone, the majority of Star Wars fans in such a way that I have a smile on my face at the end of the day, and I love to see it. I really do love to see it. And I know not everyone loves the execution of a few moments and a few elements. I love this show, and I love this season. I unapologetically look at some of these very fan-servicey moments and say, you know what? That's okay. We're fans. We're willing to be serviced. That sounded bad. Regardless, I need your comments down below. And if you enjoy this video, like I said, drop a thumbs up. I'm going to give you a score, though. I'm going to give you a score for Season 2. Let's see if it ends up in my favorite series of the year. Yeah, it's definitely going to. I think I'm going to go 90%. Again, man, it's a lot of greatness. A lot of greatness. And the fact that they gave us Luke freaking Skywalker at the end, I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Hey, are you watching The Mandalorian, whether it's the finale, rewatching all of the episodes, and are you tuning into WandaVision? My final question to you all would be, would you like to see some episode recaps for WandaVision? I'm contemplating it. I definitely want to talk about it, and we'll see what happens. You're truly the best. Appreciate you big time for watching, and this is the way.